Good evening to you. We bring you this exclusive interview with the former Deputy President and Interim President of the Republic of South Africa, Mr. Kgalema Motlanthe, who served as leader of the ANC in the capacity of Secretary General for 10 years. And he's also been an active member in the union circles and served time on Robben Island, has been an activist throughout his life, a unionist and political leader. He's joining us to talk to us about his political career, his views about the youth in the country, the state of the nation, as well as the vision for the country. And we appreciate that he made time to talk to us. And Dr. Motlanthe, we appreciate, sir, for giving us the opportunity.
Good evening to you, and
to
evening
talk
to your viewers.
We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Let me start with a very sad, tragic story that happened now over the weekend with Hope Zinde, we learn, being killed in her home, and it appears, allegedly, she was killed by her own son. And there seems to be a drug problem there. And I think, to my mind, Hope having been a colleague, I was thinking of so many parents who live with this problem where children are addicted to drugs and so forth, and things are being stolen from their homes, and now their lives are being threatened. What your sentiments are at this time?
Well, team, firstly, let me convey my condolences to Hope Zinde's family and relatives. She was a sweet soul. I think, the manner of death is truly, truly tragic. Yeah.
So, and of course it speaks to that problem of young people having so many problems, it appears. And I've had many parents complain about what's going on in their own homes. You probably have had more stories about that. As a public leader, what do you think about the drug problem?
Well, that's a cancer that's going to destroy our nation, because, what we have over 3 million young people between the ages of 19 and 35 who are unemployed. And so, as the saying goes, the devil finds work for idle hands. And we really, as a nation, have to ensure that, either, we offer learning and skills training opportunities to young people, or full employment. And there are ways in which we can tackle this problem. One of the key routes that we must follow is really to create micro-lending facilities that would not operate as machonisas, that would not operate as, commercial banks, which would ensure that, young people who are unemployed, who are neither in any institution of learning nor any job, if they have any ideas of how to eke out a productive living, they should know that for startup I can go to this facility, and these facilities should really be located in these communities. If a youngster, for instance, who dropped out at grade 9 and for some reason believes that, if he gets 10 boxes of apples to sell at Soweto Derby, that would serve as startup to getting him out of the morass of unemployment and poverty. Where does such a youngster tend to? But if there are such lending facilities where, with no point in chasing after lucrative returns, but as having as its central purpose job creation and helping those who can create jobs, because some of them may be plumbers, others may be bricklayers and so on, but they don't have the wherewithal, except that they have the skill. Or some of them may even want to access a camera and train as photographers. So micro-lending facilities of that sort can really go a long way. And it's got to be run in such a manner that, you repay the principal loan, no burden of interest. And where possible, you should also be mentored, with how much you've made. You must come back and say, this is what I've made. This is the portion that is surplus. And what do you do with it? What ideas do you have, and so on? There should be some mentors who can, help you move from that low base to a higher base.
And that is in terms of the opportunities that can be created for young people. But what about the moral fiber? That's the word that's been used, or the values that we uphold as South Africans today, because even the statistician general has spoken about this recently, saying that, the makeup of family is affecting children and young people adversely. And therefore, in a sort of free and materialistic South Africa of today, the pressures are too many to bear for young people. And of course, there's no support from family because the families themselves are almost non-existent now.
Yeah. Well, the statistician general said something that should really, in my view, have caused the whole nation to say, oh, let's stop and talk about this. Because he says, the young generation has less skills than their parents. Now, that is a compendium for regression. It sums up, the fact that how far we have regressed, because the younger generation must always be better than their parents. They must always climb to, higher levels. Now, it is the prerogative of youth, unfortunately, to be free-spirited, and that has to be encouraged. But if, of course, the society as a whole is very low on ethics, is very low on morals, is very low on accountability, then, of course, young people don't need a second invitation. They will just run with it. Yeah. And so to inculcate, to instill in broader society respect for the rule of law, we ought to ensure that we create law enforcement systems that would, convey the message to all citizens, all and sundry, that if you do step on the wrong side of the law, you will not get away with it. There will be consequences. So if you're a driver or a pedestrian and you come to a stop sign, if you stop on the wrong side of the white line, there should be consequences. That's how you instill the rule of law. That's how you ensure that there is, stability and high levels of accountability. Because let's say, Rea Vaya tomorrow introduces a system where, other than, the CompuTicket system, a system where you, if you don't have a ticket, you can get on board, but you pay. There's a place for, a little box where you must insert the money. And that relies on the levels of consciousness of citizens. If people think that, well, if nobody is looking or watching, I can get away with it, then as a nation, we are in big trouble. We are in deep trouble.
But anyway, earlier you mentioned the statistic of the young people who are unemployed and without opportunities. But overall, the statistic of South Africa is that 60% of the nation is actually young, is below the age 35, which means that's the nation itself.
Yeah.
So from where you're sitting, if young people face so many challenges and we see regression as per what the statistician general said, what do you think it says about South Africa that then, if it's 60% younger than 35 and then it's facing these problems, where are we headed to, you think?
Well, in a sense, I mean, the writing on the wall says we are stagnating, and no nation can afford stagnation. We got to be making progress, even steadily so. So There are many ways in which we can try and tackle this problem. The problem, according to the reports of the statistician general, is mainly located in basic education for the Africans and the colored communities. Because for the white communities and the Indian community, basic education is doing fairly well. That's what the reports say. So we got to drill deeper and try and understand why is it that basic education is failing the black child, and do something about it. And of course, you know, there are reasons why it is so, because when Dr. Verwoerd introduced Bantu education in 1954, they took over teacher training colleges. They took over mission schools and created public schools that we have today. And you know, Tim, what the tragedy about it is that these mission schools were there in the past for blacks and for whites, same denomination. Whether it's the Dutch Reformed or the Wesleyans or the Catholics or the Anglicans or the Methodists, that's how it worked. Now, Bantu education meant that they took over teacher training colleges for the blacks. In the white communities, no, it was left like that. And those mission schools still exist up to this day as private schools. They are the major feeder schools to, you know, the universities like Wits and UCT, Bishop's College, St. John's over here, St. Mary's over here, all of them. These were mission schools. In the African communities, all of that was done away with, except the Roman Catholic schools. So we have to find a solution in the DNA of this problem of basic education. The DNA of this problem is that Dr. Verwoerd aimed to produce a caliber of teachers that would not be strong in mathematics and natural sciences. And so we must open more teacher training colleges, recruit the best teacher trainers from all over the world, and pay them so that it's an investment for the future. And take a long-term view. In 20 years' time, 15, 20 years' time, we would have a cohort of teachers that would be among the best in the world. And that's how we will overcome this problem. If we don't do something about it, it is definitely going to create a situation where we regress, as the statistician general says.
Dr. Kgalema Motlanthe, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I've got a few more questions, and we'll pick up on them
Okay.
shortly.
Thank you.